She attacked from above. But he saw it coming. The stars burned cold above Veridion 4, their distant glow barely piercing the thick green nebula that cloaked this uncharted world. Beneath the swirling clouds, the shuttle descended like a falling ember, cutting through the atmosphere toward the unknown. From the moment the metal hull shuddered against the alien winds, Ronan Virek knew this place would change him forever. The landing was soft, too soft. Ronan stepped out into a silence so unnatural, it screamed. The jungle around them pulsed with a bioluminescent glow, every leaf and vine shimmering with life. Strange spores floated lazily through the air like drifting thoughts. The rest of the Gaia Corp team followed, their suits reflecting the hues of violet and gold emanating from the trees. Sensors lit up. The data was extraordinary. Veridion 4 wasn't just alive, it was awake. "We're not alone," Ronan murmured, though no creature stirred. Something deep in the forest was watching. They pushed toward the signal, a rhythmic pulse that came from a towering structure in the distance. It was a tree, but unlike any found on Earth. Over 100 meters tall, its trunk glowed from within like molten crystal, veins of light spiraling upward through its ancient bark. Ronan placed his palm on its surface. It felt warm, almost sentient. That night, the team made camp. The artificial lights from their equipment clashed with the natural glow of the jungle, creating flickering shadows that danced like spirits. Ronan sat apart from the others, staring into the forest. Something was wrong. The signal, originally stable, had started to spike erratically. Then came the sound, low at first, a deep rumble, like thunder rolling underwater. Trees shook. Birds, if they could be called that, screeched and fled. A sudden roar tore through the clearing, and from the darkness burst a massive beast. It was like nothing from Earth, six-legged, armor-plated, and serpentine. Its eyes glowed blue, scanning for movement. It lunged, tearing into the camp. Screams erupted. Lights shattered. Ronan ducked, rolled, reached for his sidearm. Too slow. The beast turned to him. And then, a flash of motion from above. A figure dropped from the canopy in utter silence. Blades curved like crescent moons glinted in the air. In one fluid motion, she struck. The beast reeled back, snarling, bleeding from a gash across its snout. It turned to flee, crashing back into the jungle, vanishing as swiftly as it had appeared. Ronan lay frozen. The figure turned. A woman, though not human. Her skin shimmered in moonlight, an iridescent shade of green-blue. Bioluminescent markings traced ancient patterns down her arms. Her eyes, burning gold, locked onto his. Ronan's breath caught. He had studied dozens of alien species in theory. None looked like her. She moved closer, blade still raised, her movements graceful, lethal. He expected her to kill him. But she paused. A flicker of recognition crossed her face. Her eyes narrowed, not in suspicion, but confusion. She stepped back, lowering her weapon slightly. Her gaze lingered on Ronan's face, then on the small pendant around his neck, a relic passed down from his grandmother, found in the ruins of a forgotten moon. The silence stretched. Ronan finally whispered, "Who are you?" She said nothing. Only watched. The forest behind her pulsed again, alive, listening. Then she turned and vanished into the trees. Ronan sat in the wreckage of his camp, surrounded by the dead and the flickering lights of broken tech, heart racing. He knew then, Veridion 4 was not a place to conquer. It was a world of memory, war, and something deeper. Something waiting to wake. Darkness. Cold stone beneath Ronan's back. A low hum echoed through his skull like a warning half-remembered. He opened his eyes to flickering bioluminescent torches casting shadows across the jagged walls of a cavern. Bound at the wrists, he lay surrounded by figures cloaked in the iridescent shimmer of the forest. They were Nyxari. Tall, agile, their forms both graceful and intimidating. Eyes like liquid gold studied him with a mixture of caution and contempt. Their markings glowed in patterns, language, perhaps, or ritual. The air was thick with a scent of moss, smoke, and something ancient. Something sacred. Ronan's throat was dry, but his heart pounded. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "I don't mean harm." One of them hissed. Another raised a blade. Before it could fall, she stepped forward. S'iriah. Her presence was a shift in the air, both commanding and conflicted. She spoke sharply in a language he couldn't decipher, her tone halting the execution. The others backed away, hesitant. She moved toward him, eyes narrowed, blade lowered. He felt shame creep into his chest. Not fear, though it lingered, but guilt. Whatever they thought of him, whatever fury sparked in their glowing eyes, he couldn't deny their right to it. The beast from the night before, deformed, twisted, was not a native predator. Its body bore scars of corruption. Its blood smelled of machinery. Galliacorp had come to study. But someone had tampered with more than data. From her perspective, S'iriah watched the human struggle to rise. His eyes darted across the cavern like a trapped animal, but there was no fight in them. Only sorrow. Strange. She had expected arrogance, the gleam of conquest she'd seen in other offworlders. But his face, drawn, eyes haunted, reflected something different. Memory, perhaps. And the pendant. The symbol etched into it, impossibly old, unmistakably Nyxari. She should have ordered his death. Instead, she had dragged him here. Now, the tribe murmured. Divided. The elders called for blood. But her instincts wavered. She turned from him, ascending the spiral path that led to the upper terraces of the cave. There, moss glowed soft blue underfoot, and wind howled through bone-carved flutes embedded in the rock, playing the mournful songs of her people. She remembered the last time she heard those notes, when the creatures came. Twisted echoes of Veridion's once majestic fauna, driven mad by pulses from the sky. Some said the signals called to what hid beneath the forest, the old rage, long buried. Others whispered of machines beneath roots, poisoning mind and form alike. Down below, the humans sat quietly now. No pleas. No struggle. Just silence. And then the wind shifted again. A scream. A Nyxari boy came running, his markings flickering erratically. The monsters had returned. Panic spread fast. Bells made of crystal bones rang, and warriors poured from the caves with blades humming. S'iriah grabbed her twin crescent daggers and looked down at Ronan. Without a word, she sliced the binds on his wrists. "You want to prove you're not like the others," she growled. "Then come." He followed. The night was alive with motion. Trees trembled, and the sky pulsed with distant flashes of red. At the edge of the village, the beasts emerged, dozens of them. Hulking things, their bodies covered in metal grafts, skin peeled to reveal sinew tangled with wires. They were Veridion's children perverted. Ronan stood frozen. One beast locked eyes with him. It snarled, but its snarl was warped like a scream muffled by static. As if it remembered pain. As if it blamed him. He raised his weapon but hesitated. They weren't always like this, he whispered. S'iriah heard it. She turned to him. Then you know who made them this way? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The battle erupted. Nyxari warriors danced through the chaos, their movements poetry in death. Blades flashed. Screams tore the night. Ronan moved on instinct, dodging, helping pull wounded to safety. He wasn't a soldier, but he could protect. He saw S'iriah fall pinned beneath one of the beasts. Without thinking, he ran, firing blindly. The thing screeched, shuddered, then collapsed. He reached her. Their eyes met. There was blood on her lip. But also something else. Uncertainty. Gratitude. Anger. He extended a hand. She took it. In that moment, amid the chaos, something cracked in her. Not trust. Not yet. But the beginning of doubt. When the last beast fell, the village lay in shambles. Fires burned blue where sap bled from broken trees. Bodies Nyxari and monster alike lay strewn across the earth. The elders gathered, faces grim. They looked at Ronan differently now. Still wary. But no longer ready to kill. As for S'iriah, she stood beside him, not apart. She glanced at the human who had once been her enemy and whispered to herself, in her native tongue. Even monsters carry the hearts of who they once were. And she wasn't sure anymore if she meant the beasts or him. Bright lights flared overhead. Not from the bioluminescent canopy of Veridion 4, but from satellites' orbital stations suspended like gods above the world, their lenses turned not toward the stars but down, always watching. Always broadcasting. Ronan awoke to the strange static hum of applause. Welcome back to Love and Hate, viewers across the galaxy. Tonight's episode Bonds and Betrayals on Veridion 4 is already setting record engagement across 23 sectors. A voice too cheerful, too smooth echoed from nowhere and everywhere. He looked around. He was still in a jungle, but the trees now shimmered faintly with holographic overlays. Metrics hovered midair, his vitals, expressions, predicted emotional arcs. A floating drone zipped by, adjusting focus. Another sprayed a mist of pheromone stimulants to enhance viewer immersion. S'iriah stood beside him, eyes narrowed. She had already pieced it together somehow, they had become players in a show. They are watching us, she muttered. Her tone held no surprise. Only contempt. Ronan stared in disbelief. This isn't just surveillance. This is entertainment. A new overlay appeared in the air, labeled Live Rating Feed. Emoji reactions poured in, flames, hearts, broken hearts, and thumbs down. Another voice chimed in deeper, dramatic. Last week, We saw Ronan risk his life to save S'iriah from the monstrous glare beast. Was it duty or something deeper stirring in his heart? Cast your votes now. Ronan felt bile rise in his throat. Then came the ads. Don't miss your chance to own the official Love and Hate Veridion edition merchandise featuring Ronan's battle-worn jacket and a S'iriah-inspired fragrance, biotech, for the one who hunts and heals. S'iriah's blade was halfway drawn. She turned to Ronan. You knew about this. He shook his head violently. Never. I swear. But she looked away. They walked in silence until they reached a clearing where fragments of metal and crystal protruded from the ground antennae. The jungle throbbed around them, and at the center of it all stood a spire humming with signal energy. It wasn't natural. S'iriah approached the spire, placing a hand against it. It pulsed with a heat that was not a veridion. Her markings dimmed. This is the source, she said. This is where the hate begins. Data streamed into Ronan's HUD. Emotion frequencies. Resonance patterns. A chilling realization dawned. They are not just filming emotions, he whispered. They are harvesting them. The monsters that twisted beasts weren't just accidents. They were byproducts. Hate made real. From the undergrowth emerged a childlike figure, a Nyxari no older than 10. Its body shimmered with infection, half transformed into one of the creatures. Eyes wide with pain. It looked at S'iriah. Why does it hurt to remember? It whimpered. S'iriah dropped to her knees. She didn't have an answer. Above them, the rating feed dipped, audience empathy dropping. A pop-up ad appeared. Skip scene. Viewers are disengaging. Ronan slammed his fist into the projection. The illusion scattered. How do we stop this? He asked. S'iriah turned to him. Her eyes, once pure fury, now shimmered with conflict. You came from them. You profit from their gaze. Yet you ask to end it. He nodded. Then understand, to destroy this system, you must become its final spectacle. In the distance, more drones approached. The show demanded escalation. Conflict. Love. Blood. Give us a kiss before the war, a mechanical voice cheered. S'iriah raised her blades. Ronan raised his voice. To all watching this, across the stars you are feeding on lies. On pain. On corrupted love. Veridion is not a playground. It is dying because of your amusement. Comments surged. Fake. Drama queen. Revolutionary arc? About time. S'iriah stepped forward. Then let them see the truth. All of it. She took his hand. Not as a lover. As a pact. And in that moment, every camera turned. The highest rated scene of the season wasn't a kiss or a battle. It was two enemies standing still, united against the lens. And in the silence that followed, the ratings began to drop. The spell was breaking. But the war to end the broadcast had only begun. The roots of the jungle grew denser as Ronan and S'iriah descended into the heart of Veridion 4. What had once been a verdant labyrinth of bioluminescent flora began to shift, less plant, more pattern. Trees weaved together like synapses, glowing with pulses of green and blue, as if the planet itself were thinking. Ahead stood the tree of knowledge. It was unlike anything Ronan had ever seen. Towering into the clouds, the trunk twisted in spirals like a double helix, and its branches spanned wide enough to cradle villages. Light flowed along its bark like data along circuits, and the air shimmered with memory. The closer they got, the more the air felt heavy, not in weight, but in history. S'iriah paused. Her fingers brushed the moss, and her lips moved in silent prayer. "The tree remembers everything," she whispered. "Every death. Every promise. Every betrayal." They stepped forward. The base of the tree split like opening lungs, revealing a chamber of light. Without a word, they entered. Inside, tendrils of energy extended from the walls, gently latching onto their temples. Neither resisted. The network of recollection accepted them. Ronan's breath caught as the world dissolved into images. He saw cities gleaming and ancient, carved into mountains and shaped from crystal. He saw the Nyxari soaring through the skies on wings of silk and bone. Peace. Unity. Then, machines. Humans arrived as explorers. Then as traders. Then as conquerors. His ancestors' faces he recognized from family portraits, smiling as they offered gifts. Then weapons. Then wires and steel that pierced into the tree of knowledge itself. Ronan cried out. "We did this. We poisoned your world." He fell to his knees, visions crashing over him like a flood. One image held him, a man, his great-grandfather, standing before a Nyxari elder, holding a device glowing red. A weapon disguised as aid. He had betrayed them. The visions shifted. Now S'iriah stood amidst the memories. She saw her ancestors welcoming the offworlders, saw their trust erode into fear. She saw a child, her own bloodline, pierced by one of the early signal experiments. The scream echoed into the chamber like a soul being torn. Tears streaked her face. "We begged you to stop. You answered with cameras." Ronan looked up at her. He did not argue. He could not. The chamber dimmed. The tree responded to their emotions, converting memory into light. Two strands, his and hers, spiraled together, glowing violet. In that color, something new formed. Forgiveness. "I didn't come here to be redeemed," Ronan said softly. "I came to understand. And if that's all I leave with, let it be enough." S'iriah stepped forward. She took his hand. And in the moment their palms met, the tree of knowledge erupted in light. The chamber bloomed outward, memories cascading, not as weapons but as shared history. Sorrow and love, entwined. War and peace, side by side. Outside, the sky pulsed. Across the planet, corrupted beasts howled in confusion, then fell still. The signal that fed their rage had faltered. The tree had begun to rewrite. Not the past. The future. In the silence, Ronan looked at S'iriah. She was no longer just a guardian of her people. She was the voice of a planet that had been crying for centuries. "What do we do now?" he asked. She didn't smile. But her eyes, for the first time, held peace. "We teach them to listen. And never forget." The tree pulsed once more. A heartbeat of veridion. Alive again. The cameras did not capture the final kiss. Not because it didn't happen, but because the signal, for the first time, was not theirs to own. In the center of the ancient clearing, beneath the radiant boughs of the tree of knowledge, Ronan and S'iriah stood bathed in golden light. The vines around them pulsed like quiet applause from the planet itself. Drones buzzed desperately overhead, searching for the perfect angle, scrambling to frame the moment for maximum emotional impact. But something had changed. When S'iriah leaned forward, and Ronan did the same, their breath mingling in the charged air between them, the act was not performative. There were no declarations. No dramatic soundtrack. Just a quiet convergence of two beings who had seen the truth, touched pain, and chosen each other anyway. And in that simple, silent act a real kiss, the signal cracked. Every orbiting broadcast tower flickered. A rush of unquantifiable data surged through the channels. Love, pure and unmeasured, without algorithmic framing. No metadata. No expected outcome. The system didn't know what to do. Back in Galliacorp's control hub, alarms blared. Signal instability. Emotional resonance unprocessable. Sir, the engagement models are failing. We're losing feed dominance across all sectors. They are broadcasting something we can't predict. On every screen across the galaxy, the glossy sheen of love and hate dimmed. The endless commentary fell silent. Hashtags ceased to trend. No new emojis appeared. Instead, just light. Wordless. Vast. The tree absorbed it. Amplified it. S'iriah's hand found Ronan's. He gave no speech. She made no vow. They simply stood, eyes closed, hearts open. The spires collapsed first. Towers of data and deceit disintegrated into dust. The creatures of hate, born from synthetic rage, dissolved like shadows at dawn. The drones rained down in silence. And still, the kiss lingered in memory, not recorded, but remembered by Veridion itself. In a slum on Thalra Prime, a child who'd once mimicked cruelty from the show now sat, blinking at the still screen. In the floating arcologies of Helix 9, shareholders watched as graphs plummeted, and for the first time, no one proposed a reboot. Across the galaxy, silence fell. The feed had ended. Not with a bang, but with understanding. Ronan and S'iriah did not walk out of the clearing. No image shows what became of them. No closing credits. No epilogue. Only the jungle remains. And if you stand still enough beneath Veridion's canopy, you might hear it, not the hum of machines, but the quiet song of roots and memory. The jungle whispers now. It doesn't shout. And that is how the truth returned to the stars.